I wonder if he'll run as a Democrat or an independent.
Never know. Might be a Republican.
Please. Kind of self-respecting black man will run as a Republican. Name one thing the Republican Party has done for black people. One!
Well, they were the party of Lincoln. They stood against the tyranny of oppression by leading the call for the Civil War and forced passage of the Emancipation Proclamation, which freed the slaves.
I named two things lately.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what party he's with.
Hey everybody, welcome to Dino Reacts. On my journey trying to understand the differences between Republicans and Democrats, I found a video here by Prager University that's shining a light on the subject. So, as always, let's get after it. Democrats who dominated the South opposed these measures. After the Civil War, Republicans passed laws that granted protections for African Americans and advanced social justice. For the record, I wasn't aware that I'd be reading this one, but let's continue on either way. Again, Democrats largely opposed these expansions of power. Why did they expose them? Fast forward to 1936 when Democratic President Franklin Roosevelt won re-election on the strength of the New Deal. Okay. And his opponent, Alf Landon, opposed these exercises of federal power. It sounds like he wanted to expand more government, and this guy didn't want to expand more government. I'm a firm believer in less government. I do not like government everywhere. And right now, currently in 2024, government is in everything. This is why government cancel culture was so hard. And I can definitely see why he opposed it. And who was in favor of it at the time? Let's check it out. So sometime between the 1960s and 1936, the Democratic Party of small government became the party of big government. Well, let's look at it like this. The Republican Party probably at that time was a party of big government because they didn't own slaves. Now, the Democratic Party wanted small government because they didn't want the government telling them what to do with their slaves. So that would completely make sense. And then when the slaves went away, they wanted to use the government more because who's going to come in and replace that free labor? The government came and replaced all that free labor, welfare. Okay, it's starting to make sense a little bit. I'm starting to understand. Let me pop my cap a little bit. But yeah, okay, let's continue on. All right. I'm getting somewhere. Come on, brain, work it out for me. Work it out. And the Republican Party of big government became rhetorically committed to curing the federal power. Okay? I can see that. Let's go. Some pinned the transition to the turn of the 20th century when a highly influential Democrat named William Jennings Bryan blurred the party lines. How did he blur the party lines? Okay. That means I'm going to have to do more research. Okay. Let's go. Continue. By emphasizing the government's role in ensuring social justice through the expansion of federal power. That's actually it. Social justice is an arousing of emotions. I see it every day now. And there's a lot of people that do not have the oomph to go out there and make for themselves. They have to play victim and they have to blame something on something. And the government becomes their quote unquote savior, so to speak. Like, if I can't get these people to do what I want, I'm gonna make the government do it for me. There I am willing to give my loyalty to the government as long as they're willing to do my bidding against people that have more ambition than me. Because I believe, and this is from my experience, people do not like people that have the energy to go get it for themselves nowadays. If the government will come in and give it to them for free, and then especially in my community where a lot of people are living off the government and acting like they did it themselves, like getting a government check can replace hard work and building from the ground up. There's two different ethics and maturity that come from that. And if the government's going to step in and use social justice as this means for making people feel safe and secure, I can see why they attack people that, for lack of a better way of saying it, are pick themselves up by their bootstraps type of people, like I am. I'm not going to ask the government for nothing. But the government does want to help out people that do not want to help themselves. So, hence the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party looks like it became the party of like, okay, we have all these slaves that now have their own. I don't like why I keep saying we have all these freed individuals that now have the power to go out and make for themselves. So we now need to get government funding because we don't have that labor and we don't want to pay them. So the government's going to come in and pay them and subsidize them. There's something in that, Dino. Come on, just work it through. I'm working it out. Keep going. I'm working it out. For a couple of decades, both parties promised augmented federal government. Augmented federal government. Okay, augmented federal government. Augmented federal government. 1 second while I look up augmented. I'm gonna do this together. Hold up. I don't know what that means. Augmented. Thank you guys for bearing through this with me. And as I learn, you learn. Augmented, having been made greater in size or value. Of course. Why would both parties want an augmented government? Interesting enough. Okay. A party's small government platform was submitted in the 1930s with its heated opposition to the New Deal. Ooh. That's why you hear now, like, people like, Tim Scott and AOC, all of them champion the New Deal. I wonder why. But this is what we're going to learn, right? The admission of new Western states to the Union in the post-Civil War era created a new voting bloc, and both parties were vying for its attention. Okay, we must first know who represented that new voting bloc in these new states, and how many of that populace could actually fend for themselves. You putting your hand out for the government means you're going to be tied to that party that helps you, straight up. Both parties tried to exploit the discontent this generated by promising the little guy some of the federal's legacy that had hitherto gone to the business section. So I'm trying to understand this. Independent business owners were promised by the federal government that they would have the same access to money that the business sector does. If I process that correctly, help me out. If I didn't, somebody write it in the comments. But I'm learning. From this point on, Democrats stuck with this stance, favoring federally funded social programs and benefits. Yep. And they gave a whole lot of them to my community. A lot. Whew. Okay, well, very interesting, very interesting. Okay, that was a very interesting read for me. I'm not accustomed to reading out loud like that, but we got through it. And once again, I'm learning a lot more about the switch from the Democrats to Republicans. And from what I can tell, most of it had to deal around people having the independence to fend for themselves versus for people that were needing handouts. And it looks like before the free gentlemen of the South had the opportunity to fully grasp their independence, the government came with a lot of handouts, and that was mostly Democrats. And believe you me, there's a lot of people that will accept a handout and a free check over having to fend for themselves. And then you fast forward that to today, those people will always vote Democrat. You know what I'm saying? And then they look at the people that can fend for themselves as gatekeepers to independence and to actual true freedom. So they want to call them Republicans and in some turns call them racist. I do not agree with any of those things because I feel like the American freedom is here for us all, and especially today because that racism doesn't exist unless you want to find some small segments of the outside community that still practice it, and that is on both sides. But since I don't see that, and also I do not agree with it, I want to continue pushing myself down my own independence and realizing how important it is to have small government. This is a very interesting journey for me. If anybody has any more videos that can help me process this change that I'm going through, I would gladly like to react to them. So thank you guys very much. Ooh, here we go again. Thank you guys again for watching Dino Reacts. And as always, if you like my content, like, comment, and subscribe. And always, chef's kiss. Mwah.